I got TV license letter in the post today.
I don't get that in as a letter anymore. I just kind of pay it. I'm a good boy.
Yeah, it's because of us like moving house and stuff like that. There is why I got one specifically, but it got me wondering because I'm, this is a very controversial topic, but I'm particularly anti TV license, and there's a whole host of reasons why I think you can be, and I do see plenty of valid reasons why people are pro TV license. Like for example, things like doing the kind of educational school classes over the last few months while kids have not been able to be in school. Services like that are like really, really good. That's like, something that is just on TV. But for me, it's like, if you want to kind of speak about it from a value point of view, I feel like it's not good value whatsoever. So when I look at it, if you take Netflix at about £10 per month, right, and then you take that over the year, that's £120 per year. Currently, the TV license here, which gets you mostly it's BBC content, is £159 for the entire year.
That's more than I pay for Netflix, and that's more than I pay for Disney Plus, right?
That's way more. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's closer to it's kind of closer to about £15 a month, roughly. Not very good at mental maths, but
my question is, can you have a TV and don't pay the license, or do you have to? Like, I know that one of my friends back in the days, he used to tell me, I don't pay the license, I have a TV. And when they come over to check whether you do have a TV and why don't you pay a license, he put it in a closet. He would lock the closet and they would not be able to find the TV. I don't know how it works right now. How does it work with you? You have a TV, obviously. So
yeah. So the reason why one of the big reasons why I dislike it is because it's such a broad tax. That's all it really is, right? It's a super broad tax from the government, and it's just this huge thing. It's like targeting, like, what's a thing that everybody kind of has. All right, we already have taxes on vehicles and stuff like that there, taxes on our everyday items with VAT. But what's another thing that like pretty much everybody has? And it's a TV, right? And so if essentially they keep broadening it and getting it wider and wider to cover as much as possible, so that essentially if you have a TV in your house, you have to pay a TV license. So the kind of like finer point of it is that you, if you have a TV but you do not get live TV and you do not have apps installed with the ability to get live TV, primarily things like BBC iPlayer, but that also does include like ITV Player, YouTube. So you're not able to watch YouTube live, for example. There is, you have to then also have it. So even if you didn't have iPlayer but you had BBC, you would have to still pay it. Yeah, they keep broadening it out. So it used to be that if you had a TV and you could get live terrestrial television onto your TV, you had to pay a TV license. And then obviously everyone shifted to moving a move to getting stuff over the internet instead. Less people have aerials plugged into the back of their TV anymore. Less people have Sky dishes and stuff like that. They just go straight in with Wi-Fi now and watch it that way. More and more people do. So they broadened it and said, okay, if you can watch live TV either on BBC iPlayer or YouTube or Now TV, if you can watch live broadcast television through any sort of app over the internet, you must also pay a TV license fee. So it just keeps broadening and broadening and broadening. And to me, it's like the equivalent of having like a footwear levy, right? It's just like, well, what's another thing that everybody has? Oh, you got everybody wears shoes. Okay, well, there's now a tax on shoes. Everybody has a phone in their pocket. Well, now you got to pay like a communications fee every year, to kind of cover all of this stuff. And you can debate the semantics of that all day back and forth. So that's why I think that the strongest argument is a value proposition. And for me, paying £159 a year for what I think is quite frankly a bunch of shit TV, I just can't fathom it. It's so frustrating to me. I use every other service that I pay for substantially more than I use BBC iPlayer. It's this ludicrous fee. Most of it is this sort of like middle class rubbish. All of these sort of like fucking boring dramas and stuff like that. Absolute fucking garbage. And yet I'm forced to pay for it. And it actually fucking infuriates me doing it.
Conor, I think you're absolutely. I know where you're coming from, but I think you're a little bit unfair in what BBC iPlayer brings. I would just mention Dave, one of your favorite shows.
It's
on BBC, and it's not a BBC production, but they paid out of your money to get you to watch this TV show. There's plenty of great films recently on BBC iPlayer. There are new TV shows made. I May Destroy You is one of them. One of the best TV shows we've seen in years. And I tell you what, you don't know how good you have it until you go to a different country, like to Poland, and you switch on the national media, which is owned by the government, and it's a propaganda tool for the government. And you will not find an objective piece of information in the news, on the news. Okay, that's one thing. The other one, the programming is so bad, it's horrible. And the third thing, they have strict advertisements. Adverts are running all the time, like crazy. Obviously, they don't cut the films. That's a good thing. But between the films, between the sports events, there's so many adverts. This is even worse than a private, like private owned channel. And what happened recently in Poland, so the government has decided they want to essentially get more money from wherever they can, and they decided they will introduce a new tax for advertisements in the private media. So outside this public sector, there is a private media, they have also adverts, and this will most likely be a big problem for all the privately owned media. And they did last week on Wednesday, they did the blackout. So all private media, TVs, newspapers, radios, they had no broadcasting for a day. Imagine that. And the only thing you had, it was a public media, which is just a piece of trash. So I don't think BBC is that bad. I agree. The fee is quite high as when you compare it to other streaming services. I don't think older people or people who don't have enough money should be paying that much money, but I think the content is there and it's good. And there is one channel I love watching, and I can't get it here because we are not elsewhere, which is BBC World News. It's your view on the world, what's actually happening on the world, because I can't stand BBC News. I just can't stand it, of this kind of this view of the island and nothing else. I want to see what's happening in the world. And I'm not saying news in Poland are better or news in Spain are better. They are the same. But BBC World News brings the subject and shows you what's actually happening in the world. And I think this is a great service. Well, we can agree to disagree. But I agree with you. The fee is a little bit too steep, especially for people who maybe not have enough money.
Yeah, I think that for me, that what it falls down to as well is the sense of like means testing. I feel like predominantly it's £160 a year is a lot to a huge majority of people living here. Like statistically, you'll find that, for a lot of people, that would be so much money, huge amounts of money, right?
Yeah.
And to other people, to a smaller and smaller portion, it becomes less and less. It becomes pocket change to so many people. But I feel like primarily the content that they provide, and we're talking mostly like entertainment, because I do think that their news is great, and like I said, their educational stuff and all of that is excellent, like service level content, right? It's so important and so good at what it does. But I feel like the entertainment side of what they produce is so targeted at a group that are not the people who are struggling to pay for it, shall we say, right? I feel like the stuff that the BBC are putting out, and I'm excluding stuff that they're buying in or the kind of co-productions that they do with the US and stuff like that, with like Dave or Atlanta, for example, is another one. To me, it's sort of like that kind of wholehearted BBC content that they do, even things like Normal People. I'm just like, it's just I get why people love it, and it's just so BBC. is the word that I would use for it, you know. So yeah, I feel like I could go back and forth in this debate all day long, but I got that letter this morning. I was like, we're gonna kick this fucking podcast off
with a heated discussion. Yeah, like
oh, yeah.
I love it. We're gonna have some more.
We're gonna keep going. I'm fucking fired up. I've got a fucking pint of milk beside me. I don't even drink milk, Rado. I'm ready. Let's go.
I did a workout before this, dancing to some reggaeton. So hey, let's start the show.
You ready? I was born ready.
Hello and welcome to The Blockbusters, a podcast about the wonderful world of cinema and TV. This is a podcast about movies and shows we love, no matter how big, no matter how small. My name is Conor Boyle. Connor, I messed it up again. Okay. My name is Rado, and I'm here with Conor Boyle to talk about movies, TV shows, some news, and the stuff we just love. Hey, Conor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a hello. Yeah. Yeah, I'm here. Thanks.
Yeah,
Great that you're here. So we are warmed up for the show today. Thank you for listening, first of all. Please give us a thumbs up. Recommend our show to your friends, to your enemies. Find us at TheBlockBusters.net or on your favorite streaming platform, Apple Podcasts, Overcast, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to. Give us a shout as well on Twitter at BlockbustersPod or Rado Folta or at Design Conor. I have to admit, Conor, I've been very little on social media recently. I deleted all the stuff that distracts me, but I still get DMs. If you DM me, please feel free to use it. I don't know. I'm just a little bit tired of social media. And once we don't have Donald Trump on social media, what's the point? Yeah, nothing's happening.
Talk about entertainment value.
Yeah, exactly.
Down the drain now.
Yeah, so today, episode number 34, we're going to have some news coming right up your way. We have 3 films to review and a TV show. And but at the very end, we'll be talking about our pick of the week, so something we recommend outside the stuff that we're going to be discussing. Well, we will go to Miami, we'll go to Greenland, and we will read some news of the world. That's the show today. And talking about the news, this is a big one. I mean, normally I would probably say, let's just forget about this kind of Golden Globes, because the Golden Globes are 100 foreign press journalists giving the awards to whoever they kind of fancy. But Golden Globes have been this very important award to many people, and especially in the year like this when we had 2020 just kind of behind us and 2021 doesn't look much better. It is quite important to recognize people, and let's have a look on what was nominated, because we have nominations. The awards will be coming in February 28th, so we will learn by the end of the month who won. But we have some good decisions and some surprising decisions here. So we've not seen most of the films, I have to say straight away, but some of the things that appeared here kind of baffled me. And tell me if you agree with me. So we have Best Motion Picture in terms of a drama category. So we have The Father, which is a new film with Anthony Hopkins and
Olivia
Colman, yeah. So I've seen it in Spain. Film is fantastic, and I can't wait
cool.
for people to see it in the UK. We have Mank, we have Nomadland, again, great film. We have Promising Young Woman and The Trial of Chicago 7. I think on this list, the one thing I would just kind of throw straight into the trash is The Trial of Chicago 7. I know you don't agree with me.
Do you know what? I really enjoy that movie, but I don't know if I would put it in this list either. So I think this is very much the Golden Globes in a nutshell. Is like, they kind of always seem to be just very wild with their choices, which is not necessarily a bad thing, right? It does mean that sometimes something that maybe didn't deserve to even be nominated ends up winning, and that's sometimes weird. But I also feel that sometimes brings attention to things that maybe otherwise would have went and kind of got glossed over in a more sort of formal ceremony like the Emmys or the Oscars.
Yeah, absolutely. When we're going to go through the list, you will see probably a couple of other films that maybe deserve a little bit more being in that best motion picture category. So we have best actress in the motion picture drama, Viola Davis. We talked about Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, and she's absolutely deservedly there. Vanessa Kirby in Pieces of a Woman. Have you managed to watch that film? Oh, you
not yet. It's on the agenda for this week actually. So it is.
And
but no.
The three other films most of people have not seen. So this is Promising Young Woman with Carey Mulligan, Frances McDormand in Nomadland, and Andra Day in United States. This is Billie Holiday. Best performance in the actor in the motion picture in the drama. So we have something I really want to see is Sound of Metal, and this is Riz Ahmed. Chadwick Boseman, Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Anthony Hopkins in The Father, Gary Oldman in Mank, and Tahar Rahim in Mauritian, sorry, in the Mauritian. I know you were a big fan of Chadwick's performance in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I think he is fantastic in that film.
Yeah, it's incredible, and I do see him getting either this or maybe the Oscar later in the year as kind of like a posthumous one. Posthumous? I can never say that word right.
Yeah, but, one of those things.
Yeah, he'll probably get it as a little bit of a kind of a send off in a way. I don't think that is taken away from him. I do think he was genuinely incredible to watch. He's just so captivating, and I think I actually texted you maybe about that. Last week I said, when we recorded, I don't think I give enough credit to just how good he is in this movie. He is absolutely electric from start to finish. Both him and Viola Davis are just absolutely like electric on screen together. It's so good to see. And it's very, like when I was reflecting back on it, it did make me incredibly sad that we're not going to get to see him kind of move on to bigger and better things that it felt like he was destined to, even for someone coming in slightly later in his, I don't want to say later in his career. He was early in his career, but he was older than most people would be as they get into that sort of level of stardom, right? He was kind of that, like late 30s, or he was mid 30s by the time he really kind of hit his stride. So it's a real shame. It's very, very sad.
Yeah, for me, this definitely is one of those nominations that it needs to be there, and it's got a big chance of winning. Not only because it's he's dead already, so let's give him an award. No, but actually this is a fantastic performance. But I think Anthony Hopkins in the role, and what I heard, Riz Ahmed in Sound of Metal, they are also incredible in the roles. Well, a great category, I think. The next one kind of. I thought to myself, what's happening here? So we have a category called Best Picture, Musical or Comedy. Do you remember a few years ago we had The Martian in that category?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Oh, and in this category we have great films like Borat, subsequent movie film, right? Perfect. And we've not seen Palm Springs yet, but I heard great things about it. But we also have Hamilton, which is a recording of a stage show from 2016. Yeah. What the fuck?
Yeah,
and we have The Prom, which I've not heard good review. Like I've not seen a good review of this film. And correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to be saying, but do you have any kind of a need to watch this piece of crap on Netflix?
The Prom?
The Prom?
By the title, I'm gonna say that's a hard pass on that one.
Yeah.
Musical comedy. Oh yeah, no, no thanks.
I've seen the part of a trailer because halfway through the trailer I decided not to watch this. It's not a movie for me. Happy to say that. See the cast. The cast is incredible, but
it reminds me of Cats. Right, they got that big old like cast and everything, and then it's just like,
cool. Best performance by an actress in motion picture, musical, or comedy. We have Maria Bakalova for her great role in Borat's subsequent movie film, and from what we've seen, there are 3 other films we've not watched. But Anya Taylor-Joy in Emma, she's fantastic. I would give her any award whatsoever. But I think this is great also that like Maria Bakalova, she's essentially an actress from nowhere, right? She's not a name that was kind of like picked up and she's there, but her performance in this film the stunts they were doing with Sacha Baron Cohen, who's nominated in the actor as in the best musical comedy, is also kind of incredible. So in that category with Sacha Baron Cohen, best performance by an actor in the motion picture musical comedy, we have James Corden, Lin-Manuel Miranda, Dev Patel, and Andy Samberg. Kind of interesting, more interesting stuff. Maybe let's look into best director motion picture, because we have here Chloe Zhao for Nomadland, we have Regina King for One Night in Miami. So 2 women nominated for this. We have also David Fincher and Aaron Sorkin, and Errol Fennell for Promising Young Woman. Fantastic. I think this is great. Like, more women being recognized as directors. This is what I like. On the other hand, The Prom. This is what I fucking don't get with this. Oh, God. Foreign language films. That's something I kind of like. I was expecting to see a Polish film there, but there isn't one. So I'm going to move on. I think another round is here. The one that's probably gonna get it. This is the Danish movie Thomas Vinterberg with Mads Mikkelsen. A couple of other things there. Best television series drama: The Crown, Lovecraft Country, The Mandalorian, Ozark, and Ratchet. Okay, The Crown, I get it. Lovecraft Country, I kind of get it. Fine. Mandalorian, yeah. But Ozark and Ratchet is kind of a trash TV. Ozark, not far from it. Again, I think they were better TV shows than those. Okay. Do
you know what? Actually, I passed on Ratchet, but I remember Anya being really, really in love with it.
Yeah, it's not a bad show. Yeah, but it is a kind of this mid-level Netflix TV show. It is too close to garbage for me. That's my opinion. And I think, again, better TV shows there. Best TV series, musical or comedy, Emily in Paris. What the actual fuck?
Yeah. It's so strange. A Flight Attendant, I've not seen that. The Great, I'm watching this right now on Channel 4. It's incredible. And Schitt's Creek and Ted Lasso. So I think Schitt's Creek probably is gonna win everything, because pretty much anyone from Schitt's Creek is nominated for like the actor and actress. So we have Eugene Levy, Katrin O'Hara, and that's incredible. I think the thing about Schitt's Creek is I don't think it has actually won a Golden Globe up until this point. So it hasn't, despite the the series actually finished.
Emmys,
but it cleaned up at that. But again, I don't think it won any Emmys until its final season, where it was almost like people started paying attention to it. They went back and rewatched through it, and they were like, "Oh my god, this was fantastic!" and just somehow got missed this entire time. And or maybe it was a case of, as the show progressed, it made the older stuff better. So if you came in and then you went backwards and started watching through some of it, you were like, oh, okay, this is actually very, very good. Whereas if you were watching it in the silo of one season as it released, maybe it started off kind of weak, and never got the recognition that it seems like it deserves. So I do think that it will probably clean up here with awards, but I'm kind of hopeful for that Ted Lasso.
You never know what's gonna happen. Maybe Emily in Paris is gonna win. Lily Collins is just incredible in that role. But again, this is such a mid-level TV show, kind of dropping off halfway through the season. I watched half of the season because it started becoming more and more just annoying. I like the beginning of it, but then it's just like I don't care anymore. And I think things like The Great, like you mentioned, Ted Lasso, and things in the best limited series, we have Normal People, Queen's Gambit, we have Small Axe, we have Unorthodox, we have The Undoing. We don't have I May Destroy You in here, which is again probably another overlook here. a lot of great names. You have Nicole Kidman nominated. You have Hugh Grant nominated. And this is all in the limited series or TV shows. Gillian Anderson, Cynthia Nixon. Big names moving towards the TV, and they are being nominated. I think this is good. Again, some of the choices I'm kind of like baffled by them, but it's definitely gonna make it interesting. This is 28th of February. We're gonna learn, or we're gonna kind of know who won, and we probably gonna discuss a little bit more about it. Being maybe seeing a little bit more films, but who knows, because we're still in a lockdown, so not many more films being released currently.
No.
Anything else you wanted to add to this?
I mean, I as we see every year, it is becoming increasingly more diverse in its not only who it's actually giving out the awards to or who's nominated, but also the platforms that these shows and movies are on. Right, like if you had them back 5 years, and you have Disney Plus, you got Apple TV Plus, you have I think there's HBO Max stuff in there, you got Netflix stuff, like all of these just sort of services that have kind of really appeared in the last few years are now producing all of the content that is
best quality,
the best quality, yeah. And I think we're just going to keep seeing more and more of that, and it'll be interesting in the future, like how much of the old sort of guard, so to speak, remains whenever these shows come around in the next 12 months and 24 months from now. Do we see any of like the kind of big players still on there, or is it now that these new services are all the big players, so to speak?
Yeah, that's definitely a significant change. So last few days you were texting me furiously over something that happened in the world of Disney, because you're a Disney head. If anyone doesn't know, Conor is actually wearing the Mickey Mouse ears right now. So the big news from the Disney and from Lucasfilm, actually, the Lucasfilm is doing the TV show Mandalorian for Disney Plus, is that Lucasfilm has no plans to work with Gina Carano, right? On The Mandalorian, after she caused a shitstorm on social media, and she decided to become a World War II specialist or historical specialist and share her views over what has happened in the past and how it is related to the present. And I think Disney, probably a little bit late, said enough is enough, and we're not gonna hire you anymore. Which, she had that coming for a long time. I think we had this discussion about Gina Carano before, when she kind of shared some views about masks, about the Donald Trump Republicanish kind of controversial views. And I think right now Disney said, okay, this is enough. You're done. And you're probably happy about it.
I didn't know any of this, Rado. I thought they just fired her because she fucking sucked at acting.
Well, I wish it was that kind of straight, clean cut. But
I'm joking. But she was the worst thing on Mandalorian. She was by far the weakest when it came to acting. Look, yeah, this came as no surprise to me. Like you said, it probably actually was even kind of late, maybe in a way.
Yeah.
And look, we don't have to get too political about it, but I think the big problem that we're seeing with this sort of I gotta do air quotes here of cancel culture, as people keep referring it to, right?
Yeah.
Is that the problem isn't with necessarily cancel culture, like, oh, you're just firing people from their shows or firing people from their livelihoods because you disagree with them. What it is to me is that certain people feel like they should be able to say whatever they want with no consequences, right? Yeah. And that's what it is here, is that Gina Carano thinks that she can do all this election fraud fucking horse shit. She could do all this anti-mask bullshit that she wants to do. She can compare how Republicans are being treated in the US to how Jews were treated in World War II. Right? All this fucking horse shit, right? And all of it is just so easily like just push it to the side. You just push it to the side. Nobody really thinks. Nobody with like in their right mind actually thinks any of this is has any grounding on it. But there is a danger to sharing stuff like that, particularly with a global health situation going on and the importance of mask wearing, and yet. So, and this kind of false information, or, this is what the sort of like shouting about election fraud very quickly leads to insurrections, right? And all of it, I feel like, is just so easily dispelled, right? It's not even worth having the argument. But what the real sort of fire from all of this comes from people being like, oh, you're just kicking people out because they've got different opinions than you. And it's like, no, like people can have different opinions all day long, right? That's kind of what makes the world go round. But it's this idea that you can just say whatever the fuck you want and not face any consequences for it, which has been the way for so long, particularly against women, like men being able to, in Hollywood, say what they want, do what they want, and face no consequences for it. It's the same thing. It's like, no, you can say whatever you want. Feel free. You have your little Twitter platform, whatever you want to do. Say whatever the fuck you want. But don't think that there shouldn't be consequences because you're able to say that stuff. Yeah. It's as simple as that, right? And I see she's going off now with fucking Ben Shapiro, that fucking dickhead, to do some fucking movie or whatever. Look, I hope it's really successful and you make a whole bunch of money. But thank God you're fucking gone from Star Wars now. All right.
Yeah. I think you agree with you, and I said it as well. She was kind of skating on a thin ice before, and it's not the problem that she can't say anything she wants. She did, and people don't agree with her. That's fine. But if she's employed by the private company, and if that company decides this is not our views, get the fuck. You can't. You can't go to your boss and tell him you're a piece of shit and not be fired. Like and again, like it's like it's not like you could joke at the start about me being like a Disney fan or whatever. Like they're far from fucking saints, but they are also like their whole facade is like the friendliest family forward company in the world. Like that's what we're all about, families, and we're all about friendly, like it's very much like Nintendo as well. It's like it's like they rule with an iron fist over their properties and who can use their properties, and all sorts of like Nintendo sends cease and desist orders to like little charities and stuff that are using like Mario, for example, right? And it seems so outrageous, but it's like no, like we must defend like our kind of like material at all costs. Because what we're doing is we're saying this is who we are and this is what we believe as a company. We are a family-friendly company. So if you sign up to work for that company and you sign on the dotted line, you're agreeing that I am ready to be part of this. I'm willing to take payment from it so that I, can be a star or whatever it is that you want to say. And you're kind of in some way agreeing to be part of that culture, right? So to be like, oh, they're canceling me because I have different views. I'm like, what the fuck did you expect? Right? Yeah. And it's so much more interesting too, because I think the last time that we spoke about this, it was in regards to, maybe we didn't speak about it this time, but she was kicking off on her social media about the use of pronouns, which Pedro Pascal was very forward with. Right, and I think Pedro Pascal has them as not even only in his like Twitter bio, but he has his pronouns in his actual Twitter name. And she was giving off yada 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 about all this sort of nonsense that she believes, and that's fine. And then she came out and says, Pedro called me and he spoke to me, and we I can see his point of view and I'm willing to change. And it's like, okay, fair enough. That's good. No problem. And then when you consider that just a few weeks ago, or not even just like last week, Pedro Pascal's sister has come out as a trans person, right? So you peel that back to what happened, 9 months ago when she was doing all this stuff. You have to imagine that phone call was a very deeply personal phone call. Like, you work with me, you are like my co-star on this show.
you know, you're terrible at acting, but you're here, and I
She
have
was
to
meant
put
to
up
get-
with you.
She was meant to get the new her own show. Actually, they didn't
Yeah.
announce it, but I think it wasn't planned. Like she's gonna star in the show. Gina Carano is
I
Cara
said
Dune.
that to you in our episode where we talked about the Disney investor call, where they announced.
I was not listening. Sorry.
I said they announced that series. I'm forgetting the name of it, about the sort of the Republic or whatever. And I said they were very particular not to mention her name. They didn't say that Cara Dune would be returning in it, even though they've been building her character through season 2 to kind of like lead into this. It seemed fairly obvious that that's the direction where they were gonna go, but she was already saying some shit at that time. And I think I said to you, like, oh, they very cautiously didn't mention that she was going to be in it. They kind of skipped over that fact. So I'm assuming that they're playing their cards close to their chest so that they can not put her in it. It'd be worse if they had have announced her last month to then have to announce that she wouldn't be in it. Play it close to their chest. She says one more thing. That's it. She's out. And she did it. It's so predictable. And what bugs me so much about this, right, is that, again, you can have...
What grinds my gear? This is Connor's what grinds
I
my
told
gear.
you I was fired up for this episode, Rado. What bugs me about this, and people like J.K. Rowling, right, is like you're entitled to have your opinions, but all you need to do sometimes is shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up, all right? Like, that's all you had to do. Just like when you're about to go and send your little tweet about, you know, being anti-trans or whatever, let's just go, actually, I'm not going to bother. You know, I'm not going to bother. I've got to take it, I got to shove it back inside my little head, and I'm going to keep it there, right? But yet they seem incapable of doing it, and then they get angry when people don't agree with them, and they get fired from their jobs or whatever it happens to be. It's like, yeah, it's a fucking big surprise. Anyway, let's talk about Pedro Pascal. How about that?
Your boy Pedro Pascal. I think 2020 and 2021 and 2022 is gonna be year of Pedro Pascal. So every other movie is gonna have Pedro Pascal in it. I'm so happy for him that he, you know, came from, you know, TV shows. And he's rolling and he's getting bigger and bigger, getting bigger roles. And I think you are so happy because he was cast in a lead role. Tell me, is this a lead role in the movie?
Yeah, Joel.
In the movie, series based on the game The Last of Us, and that's gonna be on HBO, and he's gonna play Joel. I've not played The Last of Us, have no fucking clue, but this seems like a big deal. Connor, tell me about it.
So yeah, we spoke about this when it got announced last year, and the reasons why I'm really, really excited for this project, even before Pedro Pascal gets announced as Joel, or what's her name? Is it Bella Ramsey? Bella Ramsey is playing Ellie, who are the two lead characters in The Last of Us. Is that the two of the reasons why I'm so excited for this is that number one, it's HBO, and we know like that good old-fashioned HBO quality, and number two, it's from Craig Mazin, who did Chernobyl. He's going to be a showrunner on this and direct, and it's co-written by Neil Druckmann, and Neil Druckmann was the one of the lead writers and the creative director on both Last of Us games. So it's this is his, like, Last of Us is Neil Druckmann's baby, very much. Like, this is his passion project. So to have him so like closely involved in it, and you know, he's the one announcing on his Twitter around who's being cast for these roles, because he's obviously so involved with it. And then you take that and like how dire Chernobyl was. Like, I adored Chernobyl, and it was so fucking miserable. And The Last of Us is a fucking miserable game, and to know that these two are kind of working so closely on that is incredibly exciting. And then to get Bella Ramsey, who was fantastic in Game of Thrones, if you remember her. She played like a very sort of like ferocious young woman. Really, really fits Ellie so perfectly. Like, whenever I read that, I was like, oh my God, how did I not put those two dots together? So good. And then for Pedro Pascal, as you said, to go from like kind of being, Narcos was very much my first introduction to him.
Oh, he was amazing in that TV show.
I think I said it last episode or the episode before. To like Pedro Pascal has become like a superstar now because of TV, not because of movies. He hasn't really done huge movie roles other than I guess Wonder Woman, but I'm not too familiar with many of his other big roles, right? Yet he is now a superstar. He is Pedro Pascal, and what a name to attach to The Last of Us. I cannot wait for the show. I'm terrified that it's going to suck, but it's just that fear when you've got so much invested in something. You're like, please don't like drop the ball in this one. But everything is lining up for this to be like so perfect for me, and I cannot fucking wait.
It will be positive, it's one of those games that, you go around and collect golden coins and kind of defeat the bad guy at the end. So it should be fine, right? I'm talking about the right game, yeah? Yeah, sweet.
That's right, yeah, Mario Bros.
You wanted to mention something about the Disney, but I don't know what you wanted to talk about, so I don't know if it's worth mentioning.
Look, it very, very quickly, because we have spoke about it we spoke about it in depth at our sort of end of year episode, and again coming into like our past few episodes just with Disney Plus and Netflix and Apple TV Plus and all of these services and how they're lining up. Disney announced the other day they're now at 95 million active subscribers, up 8 million subscribers in 1 month, which is absolutely insane to think about that level of growth that they're having. And all of this is to tie back into this sort of ongoing conversation we've been having about what is the future of movies and TV shows. And I think Disney are very much committed to the big cinema releases. Like, they are not putting Black Widow out. They are saying Black Widow is for cinemas. But I think that it's going to be increasingly important for them to make sure that the content that they're providing on Disney Plus remains high level stuff, remains incredible content, which the two main shows so far, Mandalorian and WandaVision, and we're going to fight in WandaVision later on, but the two main shows have both come out as really, really strong offerings as their sort of original, this is our prime, this is what we've got to offer. There's a whole bunch of other stuff on there that you can check out, and obviously it has the existing Disney library, but I remember when Disney Plus came out and it was just The Mandalorian for almost a full year. And then we start to hit that stride of like, now we've went from Mandalorian and into WandaVision and then into Falcon and into Loki and so on and so forth. It's becoming harder to say, I'm cancelling my Disney Plus this month.
I'm cancelling my Disney Plus this month.
Yeah, sure you are. Sure you are. They've got you hook, line, and sinker. I just think it's a very impressive number to jump 8 million in a month. And I think so much of that has to do with the weight behind WandaVision and the overall conversation happening around The Mandalorian as well. That if people over kind of the Christmas break and New Year's and you're in lockdown and it's like, yeah, well, what about this Mandalorian show people talked about, right? We haven't watched it as a family or whatever. Now we'll just get it and we'll watch the whole season in one go. And all of a sudden there's these episodes of this Marvel show being released week to week as well. It kind of convinces people to stay paying customers, and I think it's a very, very interesting sign for what Disney are going to have to do going forward.
Yeah. So great numbers for Disney Plus or Disney in general. We'll see what the number's going to be for HBO Max, because within the last few days, the new trailer for Zack Snyder's Justice League has dropped, and it is fucking awesome. It is fucking awesome. I don't know what the hell is happening there, but there is a lot of new footage in there, and I swear to God, Connor, if this movie is not going to break the internet and people are not going to just kill themselves to watch the new Justice League, I don't know what will. To be honest, I know you're going to say, I fucking hate DC.
Yes.
Yeah, and this is shit.
Yes,
but I enjoyed this trailer, and especially I loved Jared Leto at the fucking very end. He's turning around, it's his stupid fucking face, and I'm just thinking, what is this? It was a good trailer until he showed up.
Yeah. Look,
know,
I have
I'm honest. I'm honest here. I am kind of excited to see what this is gonna be. Is it gonna be a train wreck? Is it gonna be a beautiful train wreck? Yes, I love those messy fucking films, big messy films. Yeah, sign me up. You know,
Are you
sign me up.
ready? Are you ready to do 4 hours of it though?
I did 4 hours many times.
I
my
know,
friend.
but like 4 hours of this is very different than 4 hours of some of the stuff that you've spent time watching, or spent watching other movies, right? So I feel like this will feel like 10 hours. This will like your mind will just be completely melted away by the end of this movie. I don't know what is left to say about this. I've expressed my feelings on it many times. And, you know, I think it sucks. I think this trailer sucked. I think the last trailer sucked. I think the Justice League movie sucked. And there's this sort of weird idea that Zack Snyder, it's what, you know, HBO Max kind of bought into when they give him $30 million or whatever to go back and recut this, is there's this idea that Zack Snyder can save this movie, right? He can save what Joss Whedon put out as the theatrical cut. But I think people really quickly forget that everything else that Zack Snyder does is fucking shit. Like, you know, he's got lots of really cool ideas, lots of visually really interesting stuff, but I think I don't like any of his movies. I don't like 300. I don't like Sucker Punch. I didn't like Watchmen. I didn't like Man of Steel. I didn't like Batman vs. Superman, which is the closest is that this is going to be to is Batman vs. Superman. And I just think that, like, he isn't going to come in here like some sort of messiah, which I fully believe Zack Snyder thinks. I think Zack Snyder is a bigger egomaniac than Kanye West. I think Zack Snyder legitimately thinks that he is an incredible high-level director. And I just don't see it in anything that he does. And I don't think that this movie is going to be the exemplary, you know, oh, like, look how much he was able to do here when you brought, like, talented hands and the original creator in. I think the fact that it's 4 hours long and it's shot in this weird sort of IMAX style with the big bars down the side, even though it's going to be on TV, is HBO just saying, do you know what? Do what you want. We don't care as long as it gets some subscribers onto our service. As long as it gets people talking about HBO Max, do whatever the hell you want. But you're not coming back. You know, I don't think this is going to have a Justice League 2 with Zack Snyder at the helm. I don't think it's going to bring him back into being their sort of visionary for the DC universe going forward. I think it's pretty much going to be like, look, here's some money. Hopefully it's worth it so that it gets people to come back and watch us. But, you know, do whatever the hell you want. We don't care. That's what this feels like to me. And my blood boils when I think about the conversation between Zack Snyder and Jared Leto and the deep conversation that they probably thought that they had around their vision for the Joker. And it still looks terrible. It still looks awful. So it does.
It looks really bad. I wish there was one thing that they could have kind of replaced with something else. You know, maybe just get fucking Joaquin Phoenix to appear in this movie. That would have been much better.
Why not?
But we'll find out. You know, 18th of March, HBO Max will have this movie online. So transport yourself to the US. I don't know how is it going to be available in the UK yet, but I'm really curious how this is going to play out. Okay, final bit of news. Sorry?
Will you pay for it or rent it on iTunes? Yeah.
Okay, final bit of news here. Very sad news. Christopher Plummer, star of many films, over 200 films on his IMDb credit, has passed away at the age of 91. He was one of, if not the oldest actor awarded with Oscar for The Beginners in 2012. He was also nominated for an Oscar for The Last Station and All the Money in the World, the movie that he famously jumped into in the very last minute after Kevin Spacey turned out to be a scumbag, and he played this role of the billionaire that Kevin Spacey was meant to play. And he was in the film that we both loved within the last couple of years, Knives Out.
Yeah.
And he was incredible in it.
Yeah.
I mean, if I look at his many films, you know, I remember watching Beginners and I loved that film. That was, I think 2010 2010, 2011 when it came out. I remember him from The Insider, but for many people, he's the icon from the Sound of Music.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Which I've never seen.
I don't think I've ever seen it all in like one sitting. It's one of those things you like catch a bit of it here on TV, catch a bit of it there on TV. But
wow, it is on Disney Plus. Why don't you just watch it, Connor?
Maybe I will. I'll report back.
I will do. So Christopher Plummer passed away. Fantastic actor. He's gonna be missed definitely. But he left so many movies. I think we're gonna do one episode when we review all his movies, all 200 movies he ever appeared in, and we're just gonna link them from the best to worst. Well, maybe. Okay, that's it about the news. And we will probably come back next week with a fresh piece of information for you. It's something that really kind of like intrigues us, and we really talk about this stuff. It's not like we pick up news because other kind of outlets pick it up. Connor texts me with the news, and he does, what the is going on? I text him with the news, and we kind of discuss it, and then we come here and we literally just talk about it as what we think about it. Yep. The next part of of our show is going to be reviews. So we have 3 films to review. Let's jump into them. So this is the film that was released last year. I have seen it in Venice when it premiered, and I think I briefly mentioned it. That is the very interesting film. But before the show, I actually decided to watch it again. I'm talking about One Night in Miami, which is a movie that directed by Regina King. So this is her like a proper feature film directorial debut, and has incredible cast. So we got Kingsley Ben-Adir, Ellie Gore, Aldis Hodge, all those guys here in the talks of kind of being a great cast, but also future Oscar nominations, because I think Kingsley Ben-Adir, not spoiling anything, he's fantastic in this film and he deserves an Oscar nod.
Ready for tonight?
I'm as ready as a person can be.
After the fight, we're all coming back here for the champ's victory party. Don't be late.
Minister Malcolm X. Good news, the chariot is coming.
You know I'm the greatest. That's right.
Jim Brown takes the ball.
Your record is gonna stand the test of time.
How's everybody feeling tonight?
All together, yeah.
New heavyweight champion of the world.
Say, champ, you don't suppose you could sign an autograph?
Yeah, of course, man. Give him an autograph, Jim.
Actually, Mr. Cook.
Oh, sure thing, brother.
So this film is about this fictional kind of account of the meeting. So the meeting actually has happened, but no one knows what actually was said during that meeting. During, I think it was February 1964, when Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, Sam Cooke, and Jim Brown have met in a hotel in Miami to discuss who knows what, but in this film they discuss civil rights movements, cultural upheaval of the 60s. They discuss music, they discuss box, they discuss the situation of black community, black people in the US. And this movie is based on the theatrical play, and I think you can see it like from the get-go when it's very similar to Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, right? So this is a very similar setup in terms of when those 4 characters go into the room and the things actually start rolling. You see it, okay, this is a play. But, I really didn't mind that. Sometimes I see a film that's like based on the play and you see, oh my God, this is annoying. But how beautifully it is set up and how great the characters are. They are flesh and bone. They are real characters. I think I've never seen Malcolm X being a real person in the film. He's always an icon. He's a real person here, guy who likes this camera. He likes taking pictures. I've not seen Muhammad Ali being here, this young guy who on one hand he wants to change something about him, but on the other hand he wants to party. He's handsome. He wants to be, he's got the pretty face. And like those characters, the nuance in here, it's just incredible. There are so many fantastic moments in this film when 2 characters talk to each other. So they kind of get split up at some point, and 2 of them talk to each other, then the other 2 talk to each other. They go on the roof. The roof scene is also really, really powerful. What I did not maybe entirely dig was the opening was quite long. It had those 4 different scenes. So to introduce our characters, they show like a boxing match. They introduced us to Malcolm a little bit. They introduced us to Jim Brown, and he's meeting with the coach, which was like a little bit shocking. That I think that was the best. That was the best scene of that 4 scenes. But I kind of found it a little bit redundant in terms of like, let's get to the meat. Let's get to the business. The movie is the strongest when those characters are with each other and they interact, and it is powerful. There was some kind of people saying, okay, maybe it's not super accurate, and that Sam Cooke has written his kind of song, "The Change Is Gonna Come," not after that conversation, but actually before this meeting. So there is discrepancy, but this is only in the service of the story, right? The story of those 4 different characters clashing, talking, discussing things, and we see their kind of point of view. I think this movie is really powerful. It has its ups and downs, but when it's good, it is really, really good. And it's available on Amazon Prime. Conor, I want to know what you thought about One Night in Miami.
I agree pretty much with everything that you said about it. Actually, I thought this was a fantastic movie, and I definitely found that I was most bored at the start, getting into it. I don't know why. Just maybe it was a little too long spent on each character. Like I can't really recall too much of the conversation between Jim Brown and the coach. And up until the point where it is that line gets delivered, that it's so shocking. And it's funny that you mentioned it too, because I was watching it with Enya, and she was just completely like floored by it. She was like, I did not see that coming at all, right? And maybe they needed to have a little bit of a conversation for that moment to actually carry some weight to it. So maybe they couldn't kind of just breeze through it or show just that sequence or something like that there. But I feel like the start of it could have been a little bit tighter, or even just picking up right at the boxing match, I think would have honestly been enough, and then writing a little bit more about each of them into their kind of opening sequences. But they're all such famous people. I mean, Jim Brown I'm least familiar with, but they are all familiar enough anyway, particularly obviously Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X. That you don't need too much of an introduction to them anyway, right? You kind of get the idea, at least of those two, who they are and what they're about. I think what this movie does so fantastically well is obviously the performances are incredible. Like everybody is incredible in this. Kingsley Ben-Adir is absolutely amazing. Eli Gore is incredible as Muhammad Ali, or I guess he's Cassius Clay for most of this movie, but he there's so many times like the way that he says stuff, like it is almost like you're watching this sequence of like you're watching found footage or something of Muhammad Ali speaking. His mannerisms and the way that he speaks is so good, and it's fantastic. And he even manages to somehow capture that charisma that Muhammad Ali had, right? That infectious charisma, which is so hard to kind of like bottle, I would imagine. Yet he does an amazing job of it. I think all of them actually do incredible work. But I think what this movie does so well, and one of my favorite things about it, is the levels of conflict throughout it. Everybody is at a point of conflict. They're at a point of conflict with themselves and where they're going and what they're doing and what their purpose is and who they want to be. Like you mentioned with Muhammad Ali, does he want to keep being this like fly boy, this party boy, or does he want to convert to Islam? Or does like with Sam Cooke gets called out on, like, you're doing all of this amazing business work for the black community, but are you really saying something with it? And they play that like fantastic sequence where they play the Bob Dylan song, and then he's talking about it later on. He's like, it's a fucking good song, and I wish I had fucking wrote that song. And it's like it's fantastic. With Jim Brown, it's like, hey, like this kind of movie stuff is a lot better, and for me than being an NFL player, right? Then you have the kind of one of my favorite layers of the movie is the conflict between two people on the same side. And I love when stories do this. It's one of my most favorite kind of themes or traits of a movie or a story or whatever you want to call it, is that when people who ultimately they believe in the same thing, they have the same end goals, but how they feel about it is so different. And them trying to work through it and talk about it and change the other's mind, and then maybe slightly come round to the other person's point of view. And when we see that so well played out, particularly between Sam Cooke and Malcolm X in this movie, where they are debating this sort of future of how radical is too radical. You have Malcolm X calling people, calling white people the devil, and then you have Sam Cooke, who's businesses and all of that stuff are so focused on helping the black community and educating them and giving them opportunities, but what he does is also pandering to white people in a lot of the ways. And yet you can look at Malcolm X as being, what are you trying to achieve? It's too aggressive. You're not trying to come to some sort of middle ground. And it's just so interesting. And I love when movies attempt this, and when they nail it, it's even better. Something I talked about this before was The Wind That Shakes the Barley. Mm-hmm. And it's a similar premise in that movie to me, where it's these two groups, they want the same thing. These two parties, they have the same goal in mind. They just completely disagree fundamentally with how to go about it. And it creates such good storytelling when you empathize with both people and you don't really know which side you fall on yourself. Right, you can listen to Malcolm X and the passion and the points that he makes, and you're like, absolutely, this is the way. And then you hear a retort from Sam Cooke or Jim Brown as he sits at the table with him, and he whenever the other two leave, and it's like, oh my, I totally go to the other side of the table now. I'm over here, right? And such brilliant storytelling. Incredible stuff by Regina King. Incredible stuff as well by Kemp Powers, who wrote this, and he wrote Soul, co-directed Soul, just as we spoke about just a few weeks ago, first kind of person of color to direct a Pixar movie and have such a big role to play. And so to see him have kind of these two hits so close together, and this just sort of released for us, I know it was sort of last year, as you mentioned, for maybe the US and other territories, but incredible work from both of them, and I really, really hope that they get some recognition of it this award season, because I think it's a fantastic movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the movie to have in mind when the nominations will come in for the Oscars. Absolutely. One Night in Miami, directed by Regina King, available on Amazon Prime.
Mm-hmm. Well, yes. What are we giving it on our Letterboxd?
Very strong 4 stars.
Oh, do you want to go 4.5?
Yeah, if you buy me a beer,
sure,
which is non-alcoholic, yeah,
that's fine. Done, no problem.
4.5
stars on our Letterboxd. I think it deserves it. I can't say enough good things about it.
Okay, that's great. So we're not gonna move from Amazon Prime, because there is another movie there that floored me, absolutely surprised me, and I remember this conversation with one of my colleagues who shared the link to the trailer, and I saw the trailer. I thought to myself, this is gonna be a stinker. This is gonna be rubbish, and I'm not gonna watch this. But then the Friday came, and I had the remote in my hand, and I had this in front of me. I said to myself, let's give this a go, Rado. And I did. And what the absolute fuck. This movie is great. I'm talking about Greenland, a new movie with Gerard Butler.
The only thing people want to talk about today is this interstellar comet. Yeah, big news.
Some of Clark's larger fragments are now expected to enter our atmosphere.
That's right.
When the first chunk's about to hit.
Hit?
Only part of it. It's going in the ocean.
2.
Would you look at that?
1.
Wait, where's the explosion?
getting word that the fragment has hit Central Florida.
Oh my God.
Wait, are some more pieces gonna hit?
Come on, let's go.
But the sky's on fire.
Space agencies are predicting an extinction level event.
They've been tracking the military flights to bunkers in Greenland.
It's our only chance. We're gonna be together. All right, kiddo?
Allison! Nathan!
Clark's largest fragment will hit in less than 24 hours.
My man Gerard Butler and Morena Baccarin. This is a catastrophic movie. Did I say survival catastrophic movie? That's how they call it,
Catastrophe.
Right?
Catastrophe movie.
Catastrophe movie. No, it's not a catastrophic movie. There's a catastrophe.
Well,
it's your opinion. Stay with me, all right?
I'm listening. Make
yeah,
your case.
So this movie lasts 2 hours. And I vaguely remember, I mean, not vaguely, but remember watching a movie called Uncut Gems, you know? This film when I was sitting on the fucking edge of the seat for the whole time. And the last time I felt this was actually Uncut Gems. And then I thought to myself, Greenland gave me the same thing. So this is a story of a family that faces the cataclysmic natural disaster. There is a comet coming right towards Earth, and everyone's kind of like, yeah, it's gonna be close, we're gonna see the fireworks and everything. Something happens, we don't really know what happens, but suddenly there is an information that there will be some debris coming towards Earth, and this guy, played by Gerald Butler, gets a text when he's doing his shopping for his family. So his son has, I think there's a birthday party or something coming. His relationship with wife is not great. He gets a text. He was chosen to go to a bunker, and he's like, "What the actual fuck?" He's looking at other people. People look at him, and he's like, "What's going on?" Oh, I don't know. Okay, they send me a text. He's a structural engineer, so okay, they tell me to do that. This is like alert. He goes home. Suddenly, like, there's people at home and they see the alert again popping up. No one's phone gets this alert, only him. And what do you do as a man? He's like, okay, let's get the wife and let's get the child and let's go. And everyone's like looking at, like, why are you going? Why are you not taking us? We can't, we want to, we can't. I'm like, okay, I put myself in his situation straight away. You don't know what the hell is going on, and you have this stuff happening. You want to take care of your family, and you're like, okay, let's do it. So obviously everything kind of goes wrong, and you, with this family, you watch world fall apart in front of your eyes. And Gerald Butler isn't here a soldier who is trained in fighting, shooting, and everything. He's a regular guy. I mean, he's a little bit beefed up, but like, he's a regular guy with the family. He's I'm not gonna spoil anything, but the family gets separated at some point, and it's a chaos. Everything. The phone's not working, obviously, and you are with them, kind of trying to grab a little bit of news. What's happening? Where do we go? How do we get? And the title of the film is Greenland, which is like apparently the place when there are some bunkers, and you know the government has chosen some people to survive, and they know there's gonna be something going on. How serious it is, no one knows. But this reminds me of the best of the, like, those types of movies when Day After Tomorrow, or Ronald Emmerich makes those films when you kind of like see, oh God, this stuff is happening. But this is from the perspective of the family. For the first time, it's like there's no 5 points of views and you know the president is going to be there or whatever. Don't give a shit about that. You care about the family. And I dig it completely from the beginning to an end. It felt like watching the prequel, never made prequel to The Walking Dead. You know, like how actually the world fell apart when there were people robbing, you know, the pharmacy, and you try to go there to get your stuff for your kid. And how would they use your kid if your kid was chosen one? And that was like, obviously there are some things in here, you know, like how they found each other. Obviously they did. some decisions are kind of like you see that the decisions are made for the story, but that didn't bother me because the spectacle is here, the tension is here, the characters which I care about are here, and I don't need anything more. Greenland with Gerard Butler, I really, really loved it. Connor, you are bored to death listening to me.
No. I'm sitting back, just letting you say your piece. Look, I did not really enjoy this movie. That being said, I don't disagree with any of the points that you necessarily made. I think that its strongest element is the fact that it is a smaller story happening within a bigger story, right? It isn't like all of this end of the world stuff. It's happening in the background, but primarily it's about this family. And I think maybe that's where it also is at its weakest at some points, because there are so many sequences where that like world-ending stuff starts to creep its way in more than it should have, right? And it almost happens from time to time just so that something can happen in the movie.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the fireballs falling down when they're in the car, right? It's like, what are the chances that this would happen here, right? That like at this moment, at this point in time where these people are, they're going to get themselves into a hail of fireballs that would absolutely burn everything around them to death. Like it would set that whole forest ablaze, but it doesn't happen because it's not meant to, and it was just a point to add a little bit of tension to this part of the movie. I would have almost preferred that we seen less of all of that stuff and just focused a little bit more on the family themselves, as opposed to constantly kind of creeping in a little bit more with these sort of smaller events happening in this bigger scale end of world type thing. And I think the same kind of comes with how it ends as well. And I'll not spoil it, but I think that it kind of ends with that sort of this like bigger future and blah 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 type thing, right? And you see all of these destroyed places around the world, and it is very much that like catastrophe movie sequence then. And it's like, I didn't care about any of this though. I didn't care about like what happened after this movie. I didn't care what happened to the world, right? And it's like they still felt like they wanted to show me it and tell me about it and take my time, and it kept going on. That ending just keeps going on and on and on. I was like, oh my God, I get it. I don't care about any of this stuff. And, I feel like this maybe would have been stronger had they have been a little bit more aggressive in the editing to say, let's just cut out some of this stuff. The moment stuff, like the kid kind of getting kidnapped, the stuff in the pharmacy, the chemist, Gerard Butler in the back of the truck, like that stuff is interesting. What's happening, right? Them trying to get in, to the planes and stuff like that. All of those moments are interesting moments, and interesting stuff's happening. I'm invested enough in the family, but then it's when it pulls back out and we're seeing terrible special effects for the comets and everything, and I'm like, this stuff is so not really necessary.
The effects are not that bad. No, but
they're pretty bad. I'm sorry, they're really bad.
Right? What do you expect? This movie didn't cost that much. It is still, for me, it is a spectacular movie, and I love watching those films when we see the end, like of the Earth, or almost towards the Earth. And it's like, oh, this is so interesting. I want to see more. And when you show more stuff, the kind of more questions kind of like, oh, maybe it's a little bit too much. But for me, I mean, it worked. I also liked how they show not everyone is a piece of shit. Like not every person is the worst, and you sometimes see people doing like fantastic gestures, and it's like obviously there will be one person who does that. It's not like everyone is helping each other and everyone's kind. There are people who are just pieces of shit, but there are some people who are actually do something. They know they're gonna die, they don't have a secure place or anything, but they do something for that family, and that was super like uplifting, and I think so much needed. And I agree with you, the ending kind of drags, but then you see the kind of hope, but we need hope. We need hope. That's my thought. The director of that film, Rick Roman Vaugh, has made one film before with Gerard, which was Angel Has Fallen, which was actually still a good romp, and I kind of enjoy this as well. For me, it's a recommendation. I gave it 4 stars. I'm not sure what's your...
Not a chance, Rado. Not a chance for giving this movie 4 stars on Letterboxd.
No, I'm giving it 4 stars. I want to hear what you...
I'm going to give it a generous 2 stars.
You piece of... You are the person that is not going to help anyone when there's the end of the world, okay? So that's an average 3. Fuck you, Connor.
Look, I'm just saying that, right? You watch all these movies over the years, and you see, people being nice and in these end of world scenarios, and then when you look back at this last year and you see that people can't even put a fucking mask on to try and help people out, right? I'm like, never again do I want to see a movie where people are nice in it in end of world situations or big catastrophic situations, all right? but I don't believe in them anymore. They're gone.
Listen, we we wear masks. We are the nice people,
Yeah.
There are some scumbags who would kidnap you if you had a wristband that allows you to. You're a crucial worker.
That sequence had me so angry because as soon as the guy lifted the hammer, I was like, take the hammer off him and fucking bash his head in. He's not you're not getting out of you're not getting out of this peacefully anymore. Yeah, I just snatch that shit out of his hand and be like, fucking done. All right, we're not wasting any fucking time here.
Yeah, but this shows this is not the type of movie that he's like the killer. He
doesn't have to be.
Yeah,
it didn't have to be. That's why I was like, come on. There's where they're fighting in the grass, and I was like, the other guy's still there. I'd be like, take that and finish him too. All right, finish him too. You gotta try to take your wristband. Now you're gonna just wander off. You crash the car and everything. Finish him, all right? Because he's gonna go do it to someone else. Okay.
I think those scenes are based on real events, because I'm pretty sure someone at Coachella or Glastonbury did the same fighting scene. Give me the fucking wristband, you piece of trash. Okay, that's enough for this movie. I think we spent enough time on it. I liked it. I think I'm going to watch it again at some point. This is Greenland, available on Amazon Prime. And our last movie for today we're going to discuss in the review section, because we still have a TV show to discuss, is News of the World, new movie with Uncle Tom Hanks and Helena Zengel. So she's a very young actress, German actress. She broke through in the movie called System Crusher, which probably not many people have seen, but she is fantastic in that film, and she's also great in this. So this is a movie directed by Paul Greengrass.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Captain Jefferson Kyle Kidd, and I'm here tonight to read the news from across this great world of ours.
So they pay you to tell stories. I ain't never heard of that as a thing a man can do.
Well, it's not a rich man's occupation, as you can see.
Hey! Stop! Stop! I'm not gonna hurt you!
Do you understand English?
Dog, jeg kan godt,
Friend. Says your name is Johanna Leonberger. Indians took you when they attacked your family 6 years prior. Your mother, father, and sister were... well, they passed.
And before I kind of jump on to talking about News of the World, do you or do you not like Paul Greengrass's movies?
I mean, I was a big fan of the Bourne trilogy.
Yeah, absolutely. He changed how the movies are made with this film. His films like United 93 or the Bourne,
that one.
The Bourne Ultimatum, and I think he did also Bourne Supremacy, completely changed how people started making those films with shaky camera and like super quick cutting. For the time, that was like the signature of Paul Greengrass. Yeah. I love those movies. Bloody Sunday, it's a fantastic film as well, right? Like, this is one of those films close to you. And I remember seeing this 2002, 2003. My God, this movie like completely destroyed me. how great, how tense this movie is. He also made, Captain Phillips, his previous film with Tom Hanks, and that film also is great. He recently made 22nd of July, like a Norwegian film based on the events that happened with Anders Breivik shooting people and blowing up a bomb in Norway. But I think his directing style is not for everyone in general, but he comes across as a person who cares about people, who is interested in those big events in life. I admire him, and I always kind of look out for his stuff.
Yeah. No, I think I'd forgot some of those movies actually, like United in '93. So I think I am overall a pretty big Greengrass fan actually.
Yeah.
So.
And this new film called News of the World, it's set in the 19th century in the US, just about at the end of the Civil War in the US. And we have this veteran played by Tom Hanks. He's called Captain Kidd. What a name. And he goes from time to time and he's reading news to people, which, kind of relevant to these days. He has a bunch of newspapers and he finds those interesting stories, and he kind of gathers people around the storytelling idea, just something like cinema does, what cinema does these days, right? And on his way he kind of comes across this girl. She was abducted or taken by Kiowa people years ago. She's forgotten her language. She's from like a German descent, and right now everyone kind of in that Kiowa tribe was killed, as before the family was killed by Kiowa. And he kind of sets on this journey with this girl to deliver her to her family. Interesting topic, I would say. This movie, if you would not tell me that was directed by Paul Greengrass, I probably would not know. There is literally like one sequence in this film when they are being chased by those group of those thugs from bandits from the town, and suddenly this kind of becomes really like tense, and you feel like, oh, Paul Greengrass actually did something in this film. But apart from that, this film is very kind of withdrawn in his kind of directorial style. He mostly take care of the relationship between the kid Captain Kidd and the actual kid played by Helena Zengo, and how kind of this relationship develops. I think this movie has it's got the right heart in the right place. It is trying to show us the world when good people take care of good people, and they are like some idiots around, and the world is torn apart. I think this kind of view of America ripped into by the Civil War does not look different than America like within last few years, when it was essentially ripped apart by whatever people in power were talking and doing. And it is a heartwarming film, but it kind of bored me in many moments. I probably didn't have enough patience for this movie to stick with the characters and invest so much time in kind of looking at them and doing the stuff. I was more interested in, okay, what's the story's gonna be like. And as long as Tom Hanks is great in this film, I loved Helena Zengo in this. I think she is nominated. She's got the Golden Globe nomination for that film. I'm pretty sure she will get a nod in the Oscar race because she is incredible in it. The movie looks fantastic. It's got this view of the West, like a proper West, when there is mud, there is dirt, everyone's kind of tired, everyone's got their mind somewhere else, and just looks, the production design is fantastic. It feels like a Wild West. It is not True Grit, unfortunately, but yeah, I think it's a decent film.
Yeah, I agree. I love this time period. I find it so fascinating. And one of the other kind of great games of the world is the Red Dead Redemption series. I'm not sure if you're overly familiar with it.
The one when you collect the coins?
That's the one, yeah. The Red Dead Redemption 2 from, I don't know, maybe about two years ago now, when it first came out, spent so much time in almost this exact time period, and it was just so beautiful to be part of that as a game. And that game is maybe 20 to 30 hours of like playtime to get through that story, and you relish every single moment of it, because it's a big open world, very interactive and stuff like that. This movie, however, I felt like could have done with sort of wrapping up shortly after we come into contact with like the cattle rustler guy, or the Buffalo King, that's who it was, yeah. Right, we come into the contact with the Buffalo King, and we have that kind of brilliant sequence where he kind of sticks by his guns, and he tells the people another story, kind of causing a little bit of a revolution between them, right? Of these what are basically slaves, to this sort of almost Donald Trump-esque type figure, right? Like a local con man, snake oil salesman, just overall piece of shit. And after that point, I feel like the movie just becomes a bit of a snooze fest, and I just stopped. Like, even though like I care a lot about both of these characters and I don't want anything bad to happen to them, they're really not putting any danger in that last third of the film. It's just sort of like a slow ride out until they get to this ending, and I felt like that was just a little bit flat, and I was sort of found myself being like, I'm past caring now. I when you're putting the pair of them together and they're learning from each other, it's so fascinating and lovely to watch. And then you're putting them into dangerous situations, and because naturally that environment is incredibly hostile and incredibly dangerous, and that tension comes through in the movie. The chase sequence, like you mentioned, even that sequence at the Buffalo King area is when they first meet them kind of bandits in the forest, it's tense because you're like, oh, I'm not really sure how they're going to get their way out of this, right? And you kind of want, I found myself, like wanting him to be that like gunslinger that just gets himself out of it through like, just pure determination and like incredible gun skills. But he's not that character in it. He's very soft, actually, in many ways. And that's why he is such an incredible father figure in it, as Tom Hanks always is. So once that sort of the tension starts to leave the movie and you get into that final third, I just was sort of, I'm sort of over it now. I feel like it could have wrapped up a lot quicker, a lot sooner after that sequence. It just kind of keeps going and going and going. It's another one where the ending feels so long.
Yeah.
Even had it have been when they got to the house. Again, trying to spoil too much. When they get to the house, I felt like it could have just went there, and it's fine. Like, job done, mission complete.
Even what happens after that, what's gonna happen.
Exactly.
It's kind of like,
right?
It's kind of like, you absolutely know what the beat by beat will be in this film, and you can spare it. Just leave a little bit unsaid. That's gonna be probably
it would have been much stronger in my opinion. But I agree. Incredible production throughout it. The little towns and villages that they come across, the mud on the ground, like you'd said, like it reminds me, and I do recommend, like, go and just watch a couple of videos of someone playing through Red Dead Redemption to get that idea of how well Rockstar, who usually make the Grand Theft Auto games, made this like living in Wild West environment where it is these sort of little towns on the outskirts of like these bigger cities like New Orleans and stuff that are starting to pop up, and it's full of like everything's muddy, everything's dirty, everybody's drunk, everybody's fighting, people are shooting, like everybody is rough and ready. There are kind people there, there are horrible people there. It's just such an interesting time period, I think, in history. So I think they did a phenomenal job of capturing that. Just that maybe the script could have been a little tighter.
So this is News of the World, and you heard it on this podcast. I don't know, when I say News of the World, I feel like, we are doing like a news podcast, almost like that.
Piers Morgan. That's what I think.
Yeah. This is available on Netflix right now, and we're gonna rate it 3.
I think 3, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think 3. It's not a bad movie. It just had the potential to be a little bit stronger. I think had it have, kind of got to the point.
Yeah, it is definitely a recommendation. If you have a time, just watch it and immerse yourself in the mud and dust and miserableness of 19th century America. Not that different from 21st century America. Right, Conor, 3 films behind us, 1 TV show ahead. And this is the one you've been pissing your pants on talking about, mentioning, and being super happy. This is WandaVision on Disney Plus.
I was going to say, we're on full spoilers for anyone who hasn't seen it and maybe wants to keep it in for, episodes 5 and 6, right?
Episodes 5 and 6 on a very special episode, aired 5th of February, and all new Halloween Spooktacular aired on the 12th of February.
We now have first-person intel from inside the Westview anomaly.
What are we looking at here? Is it an alternate reality, time travel?
It's a sitcom.
Starring 2 Avengers?
It's a working theory. Life moves fast out in the suburbs.
I think something's wrong here.
Should we just take it from the top?
Wanda!
I don't know how any of this started.
What is outside of Westview?
Yeah, I'm not sure what that's about. It's probably just a case of the Mondays. Am I right?
So I think instead of talking about the plot, I'll leave you to it if you want to do it. Can I just say a couple of things?
Yeah, I don't think we need to go through this plot by plot. I think when the season ends, we can do like a recap of maybe some of our favorite moments from it and the big standout moments. But I do think that weekly ongoing, it is providing a lot of interesting discussion, and I know you feel about it a certain way, and I feel about it a certain way, and I know that your way of thinking about it is wrong and incorrect, and mine is correct and true, and so yeah, by all means, you've got the floor.
I will start, and I'll try to be brief. Okay, so this TV show started really strong for me, and I love the suspense, and I love the kind of unknown, and this was there until episode 3. Then the episode 4 dropped in, which kind of explained us everything. And I thought to myself, episode 5 and 6 will be this will either go back to the kind of episodic form, or they will put it intertwine those 2 stories, because I think the cat is out of the bag, right? Because they already showed us one side, what's happening inside the bubble, the hexagon or whatever, and they show us what's happening outside the hexagon. So we are right now not only watching the TV show, but we are watching the TV show with the characters who are outside there, and we are together trying to figure out what the hell is happening. So this very intriguing, mysterious TV show suddenly turned out to be another Marvel extravaganza. And by the end of the episode 5, we are in the full fucking swing of, we need you in the next episode because there is something happening and there is a new character that appears, and you are just probably, because you're a fan, you are pissing your pants. And at this point I said to myself, okay, so not only that I have to have watched all the fucking Marvel movies to see who that character is. I probably, just from the context of that, I know this is Pedro that's appearing, spoiler, but they recast him. Okay, so let's go deeper in that. Why did they recast him? What actually is happening? So wait, Disney purchased the whole fucking Fox catalog, and they have right now a mutant. Does that mean? And at this point, I'm just sitting there and just, this is what I expected. This is going to be one of those shows that you have to kind of read through every fucking... Sorry, I'm swearing quite a lot.
Oh, I was thinking we should put up like a warning at the start of this episode. I have swore every other word probably.
Yeah. So you have to now read the theories, be aware of what's going on inside the Disneyverse, but also what's happening outside. And it's just like, I just want to watch a good and interesting TV show that's going to keep me gripping. Okay. And now my question, there is much more stuff happening around this TV show than actually interesting stuff going on in the TV show, because I think the episodes right now become dull, become really boring. They are not funny. The writing is lazy. The jokes don't land. The kind of thing that we were meant to like that much, which was the homage to the sitcoms, has disappeared. I mean, I didn't know what the hell the episode 5 is trying to do. Episode 6 is trying to be Malcolm in the Middle or something like that. Okay, fine. The opening credits are great, but apart from that, I'm like, none of the jokes are funny. None of the characters interesting. Even worse, what's happening outside the bubble is just crap I've not seen since probably watching Jessica Jones on Netflix. The acting is bad. The acting is bad. The jokes are just flat. The stuff is getting ridiculous. It's like, hey, let's kick some asses. Let's the three of the characters in the episode 6 being taken by the guards, and they are being overwhelmed by people who have no fucking clue how to fight. And then the girl that was in Thor, she takes the computer and hacks into the mainframe, whatever. I'm like, this is like some kids crap, and I was expecting a better quality show. So if it was only the stuff that's happening on the outside and good quality show being delivered, I would want it. But I think for me this doesn't work anymore, because the quality of the episodes has gone to the gutter, and the stuff that's happening inside requires so much work to know outside that I'm just tired. And I texted this to you. I'm tired of this show, and doesn't give me any joy. And I'm gonna watch it till the end. I invested enough money, but this is a fucking soap opera. This is a soap opera, and I don't know. I used to watch. Not Dallas. The one of the others, like soap operas, because I was invested. Like, I hated it. I was like, who's gonna kill someone? Who's gonna be resurrected? This is the same stuff, and I just don't feel like this TV show deserves that high ratings. That's my rant over.
That was quite the rant as well. And like I said at the start, all wrong. But again, you're entitled to it. You're entitled to it. And I think,
thanks, Conor.
I think some of the stuff that you're talking about, like I think there is a seed of something there that I do agree with, in that there is some sense of maybe wouldn't it be nice if there was something from Marvel at this point that wasn't part of the big universe and leading to something else in the universe, But I also think that as a fan of that, that's one of its strongest features. I'm here to watch this movie or this show and this series because I'm invested in the bigger universe. The best way that I can describe the MCU at this point is that it is greater than the sum of its parts. In that, like, individually, you can pick apart every single movie for some sort of flaw. You can pick apart parts of WandaVision, and I'm sure you'll be able to do the same with Falcon and Winter Soldier, etc., etc. But collectively, when you combine them all together, you're left with this thing that is much, much stronger than anything else that there is similar. In fact, there's nothing really similar at all. And that's so interesting that they have managed to build this living, breathing universe through the movies, and now they've managed to transition it into TV And they've really, in my opinion, they've hit the ground running with it. They have not really stumbled too much. And like you can, again, I don't think that you're necessarily wrong in saying that, like, you know, some of the writing and stuff is bad. I do think that a lot of that is, in this case, I would write off to it, the show being very much on the nose. Like the episode 5 that you mentioned is I think it's I think it's, is it Growing Pains or Family Ties, one of the two that it's based on, which was Elizabeth Olsen's sisters, Mary Kate and Ashley, were two young twins, right? And as we get introduced to two young twins in the series, like, they are so far down the rabbit hole of like being meta and inside jokes, not just for the inside of the MCU, which there are plenty of through Jimmy Woo in particular, but inside jokes about the series, about the time periods that they were in, about the MCU, about the actors involved with it. You know, we've seen Kat Dennings getting pulled into the Hex at the end of the last episode, and I fully expect her to work in a diner as, you know, like two broke girls. I fully expect it, because they're saying like, no, the whole point in this show is that it is like, it's this weird warped reality, and everything about it, it's weaving in and out of our own reality, it's weaving in and out of the movie reality, it's weaving in and out of potentially other movie realities. Like, it's so free to do that, because, you know, they have spent all of this time telling us about these characters and what we believe that can happen in this universe. We know the extent of Wanda's powers. Enya and I went back and watched Age of Ultron, who I feel might make a return in this. I just have a funny feeling about it after watching that movie, that we might get some form of Ultron again. But we see that, you see in that movie where she plays the trick on Tony, which inevitably leads to him in Civil War, which then gets brought back in Endgame about him being like possessed by this idea that there's something coming. But, you know, we see that her capabilities of making people fully believe something. We didn't really see that again after that. That's really the only time we get any sort of peek into it. Now it's back in full force, and it's happening in full force. And that's why we're seeing Age of Ultron stuff pop up here, is because they're tying it right back until that point in time. You know, they're looping this, they're kind of closing this loop. But I think that you might be surprised then as well with some of the stuff that they're doing around, you know, as you mentioned, them purchasing Fox and mutants and stuff like that. They're definitely laying the groundwork, but I don't think that the stuff that's happened so far is what you think it is. And I really like this about the show as well, is that it despite the fact that all we know and all we've seen theorized online, if you're really into it and you're reading stuff, you know, and trying to string things together, we still don't actually know where these next 3 episodes are going to lead us. We don't. And the show has been so good so far at actually saying, you thought it was going to be this, but it hasn't been this. Even if you went right back to episode 1 or episode 2 and you're like, you know, what you think is kind of happening, a lot of that has not come to play at all. It's been a completely different direction. And I said when I was in sort of December time, I might have said it on a show, I said, I want this to be like Lost for me. I want to be going on to like Reddit afterwards and like looking up like clues that they maybe dropped in there. And I'm getting that exactly how I wanted it. Now it's not to say that the show was without fault, but it is giving me what I wanted. And I understand your point of view of saying like, I maybe would have preferred each episode be the kind of weird cookie. It's just in the TV show and there's nothing happening outside of it, you know, as opposed to this kind of like moving back and forth that we're doing now. But I do think that, I always say, like, I always look at Enya as kind of like the more layman view of what is happening in the MCU, because she really enjoys watching it and we love watching it together, but I'm really, really invested in it. And for her, like the first 2 episodes, she was like, I don't really like it. It's kind of weird. And then as it's progressed, she's like, I absolutely think this is fantastic. I've went the opposite direction. And it's the opposite to you, right? And again, that's because I think that you have an understanding of a lot of what you want from the show and expectations of it, because you have, either like through osmosis from me, you've absorbed more about the MCU than you did have 12 months ago or 18 months ago. But you have this, like, I understand these little bits and pieces, and you had no idea when Pedro showed up that was going to be kind of what they were hinting at. Maybe there's a crossover between she had no idea about Disney and Fox. Maybe a passing from me talking about it before or hearing about the news, but no idea that it was happening, and it didn't matter. It didn't matter. The show was just getting more interesting as time went on, because they were like bending at the rules and they're throwing little bits here and there, and you can see the cracks literally starting to show across this world that Wanda has built herself in. And my final point, and what I think is so good about this show, and the Mandalorian did this really well too, is that it has brought back something that has not been around, in my opinion, in a long time, which is the weekly viewing. And it becomes like you dedicate that Friday evening time to sit down in front of the TV, and everybody's doing the same thing at some point during the weekend, which is pretty cool. Like it's no longer fixed. You got to be there at 7:00 or you're missing it. It's like, no, somewhere over that weekend, most people on a Friday night, we're sitting down and we're watching this show together collectively as a group, and we're talking about it, and we're sharing ideas, and we're discussing it, and we're getting excited, we're getting disappointed, whatever it happens to be. I think Disney have done such a brilliant job here of, and again, it's almost paying homage to the shows that it's actually, kind of parroting in a way. The shows that people used to sit around their TVs and watch, and it's doing it so well, and it has everybody coming together at some point over the week and saying, this is our family time, we're sitting here to watch this. And I think that is really, really, really cool. Mandalorian did it, and I think that this is actually doing it even better, because maybe the Mandalorian was the right sort of setup for that, where people got into the rhythm of it again, and now rolling right into this. And like I said at the start of the episode, we moved from this maybe a week gap to Falcon and Winter Soldier, and I find myself every week like counting down the days to Friday. I'm like, I can't wait to sit down on Friday night and watch this show and see what happens this week, because I don't know. I have ideas, I've read stuff, but I don't really know, and I'm so excited to see where they go with it, because they keep just tweaking enough to throw me off guard here and there.
I agree, and I mean, this is a great thing. The whole experience of watching something and waiting for it, like Lost used to be, and TV shows back in the days before they were dropped. And I agree, this is incredible. But for me, again, I would say this: it is a little bit like, you're waiting for this. Oh, what's gonna happen? And what you get is like a lot of stuff you can talk about, but the quality of that isn't like there. And I think, if we could spend as much time, not only us but other podcasts, the articles and whatever, talking about great stuff on the TV that's kind of overlooked because WandaVision is this big universe. I'm sitting today and watching another episode of Snowpiercer, and I know you gave up on it, but I love the universe of that, and I just want to kind of sit down and chat with someone. So if someone wants to do a podcast with me about Snowpiercer and the world, please get in touch, because I'm more than happy to. Last week I stumbled across one episode of Mr. Robot that floored me, and the quality of that, it was just like, what the fuck? We are sitting here and talking about bigger picture, because by the end of the day we're talking about not only about the episode but all the connotation. But just for a moment, let's kind of step back, look at the quality of that. It's not that great, is it? There are great shows that deserve also other stuff. Maybe, I mean, I just wanted to show like a different perspective, because I knew you're going to love it. And for the right reasons, I respect that, I get there, I sit down and I wait for the episodes, because I kind of want to be annoyed. I kind of want to be surprised as well. And I want to talk to you about it. And it's great. But there is so much other great stuff. And at some point in life, we're going to be sitting here and doing the show about Disney fucking TV shows only. And this is not good. This is not good.
It's not. I'm joking. I can't. I say I can't wait, they're making amazing stuff. I think they're making amazing stuff, but this doesn't take away from me being like, I can't wait to see what HBO do. I can't wait to see what Apple TV Plus put out next. That is going to catch us off guard. When I think back to something like The Outsider, which had no idea, nobody knows it's coming. Normal people, for yourself, or I May Destroy You, and it's like, these are not things that have this sort of like, there's momentum coming into WandaVision. Though half the world knows WandaVision, and that is what it is. But it doesn't mean that I don't mean that if we review stuff at the end of the year and we do our list that WandaVision is going to be anywhere near the top or in the top 5. It may not be, and there may be a lot better stuff that comes from other places that wasn't Disney or Marvel at that time. But I just think that what it's delivering at the moment, there is no other show like it. There is really not, and I've never seen a TV show quite like what WandaVision is doing right now.
I mean, it is doing with people what Twin Peaks used to do with people, what Lost did with people at some point. The momentum is much bigger because the world is suddenly much smaller and everyone's watching the same thing. And I think that's great. If we can collectively watch stuff and be excited about it, I can't want more, Yeah. Do you want to add anything to this?
No.
No? Cool. Okay. This is WandaVision, available on Disney+. And before we close the show, I wanted you just give me 1 minute on something you wanted to recommend. It's our pick of the week, something we watched, listened to, read, something we didn't review here in the full length, and something maybe you want other people to watch.
Yeah. Do you want me to go first? Do you want to go first?
Yeah, please. Yeah, go for it.
Mine's is a Crock of Gold, a few rounds with Shane MacGowan. Are you familiar with Shane MacGowan?
Yeah, the Pogues.
Yeah, the Pogues, yeah. So obviously everyone knows the Pogues thanks to Fairy Tale in New York, but Shane MacGowan himself is a fascinating character because if you've seen him like I seen him growing up, and he was, kind of always in and out of TV or on newspapers or even local stories of him, he's always been a very chaotic person, shall we say. Very, no teeth in his head, always drunk or high or something like that. Like a real sort of, just rebel, but yet had such a poetic soul and a poetic spirit. And it never, other than his music, it never really got out. This is produced by Johnny Depp, who's friends with him and longtime friends with him. And I think it does a fantastic service to Shane MacGowan at making you look at Shane MacGowan very differently. I also think it's a very beautiful homage to Ireland as well, that I would recommend if anyone wants to kind of get an idea of what Ireland was like sort of through the 60s, 70s, 80s, even into the 90s. It's a really, really good look into it. You can only get it through rental or purchase on iTunes, I think, at the minute, or Amazon and stuff. There is nowhere to watch it free. But if you want to watch a fascinating documentary that's full of just depression and laughs at the same time, and such a fascinating, interesting character, it's a brilliant documentary.
Love it. Crock of Gold, that's what it's called. My pick of the week is gonna be one of the 3 best TV shows in the history of the TV. So Prince of Bel-Air, obviously, The Office, American Office, and Parks and Recreation. So Parks and Rec is right now, the Series 7, which I've not seen, I don't know what happened, is right now available on Netflix, and I watched it in 2 days. And this reminded me of how I love this show, how I love this character, how meta this TV show can be, and how warm it makes you feel. It's about, those crazy people who are really good at heart, and they want to do something good for the community, for the country, for the environment, and it's actually extremely funny. If you've not seen any episodes of Parks and Recreation, I will just say who's in it: Amy Poehler, Nick Offerman, Chris Pratt, Aubrey Plaza, Rashida Jones. We have guest stars like Rob Lowe, John Hamm. I watched the Series 7 and kind of it left me. It was so uplifting to watch this. I'm not sure if you ever watched Parks and Recreation.
No, it's one of those ones that passed me by.
It is one of those TV shows. If you start watching it, you will never turn it off. And trust me, classic, absolute classic for me. And this is my pick of the week. I wanted to recommend something else, but I thought to myself, this deserves a little bit of time in our life, and it's so uplifting, so funny. I can't recommend it more. Parks and Recreation, available on Netflix in the whole 1 to 7 series. We still don't have the special episode that was aired in the US in 2020 during the lockdown. I'm kind of excited to see it in the near future. But that's it from us for today, Conor. It's been a blast. Fiery episodes of the Blockbusters. This is the stuff that we bring into you. So thank you for listening. Subscribe, rate, and comment on our show. Please also recommend our rants to your friends and enemies. They all deserve a little bit of heat from Rado and from Conor. It sounds wrong, right?
It does. Yes, it does.
Check our website for all episodes at TheBlockBusters.net. Find us on Twitter, on Letterboxd. And I will link pretty much everything everywhere you can find us in the show notes. So just go there. Our theme music is by Scott Holmes, and you can find more of his work at scottholmesmusic.com. Artwork was created by Conor, and I have edited these episodes. Find us on Apple Podcast, Overcast, Spotify, Google Podcast, and pretty much anywhere you're listening to your podcasts too. Until the next time, thank you, Conor, for this heated discussion. I'm going to cool down right now in... maybe I'll just take a shower or something.
I'm going to take a shower.
I'm sweating. Take care of yourself. Bye.
Bye.
And like that, he's gone.